Go.
Hi, and thank you so much for being with us today. I am pleased to introduce our group A3. I am Evan Timberlake, and here with me today is Lauren Eustace, Charles Spry, Rushi Shukla, Patrick Smith, and John Macri. We look forward to sharing our final data presentation with you on McBurger salads. Rushi Shukla will dive in and begin our presentation.
Thanks, Evan. So McBurgers is interested in exploring 3 specific marketing initiatives. The first one we believe is that will not be extremely successful is the advertising of new line of salads via mass media and on YouTube. The 2 not yet tested initiatives are to focus on targeting existing customer base to induce trial and usage rate. And then the second is to expand beyond the existing customer base and into new specific segments. So next slide onwards, I'll speak about some of the visualizations that we've worked on. Starting with the top left, we looked at salad bowls versus Facebook, and then we looked at some of the salad bowls versus store traffic as well. As you can see, both of the trends are fairly flat as salad bowls increase. The only significant insight that we were able to find here is as salad bowls increase, the YouTube implications increase as well. On the next slide, we'll speak about some of the other visualizations. We did targeting specific demographics. So looking at the differentiation between gender, we found that females, specifically comparatively with males, was again fairly similar. Males were a little bit higher in terms of their salads purchased. Comparing profession, engineering was the highest or the most popular profession, with teacher coming second. Comparing the number of children based on salads purchased, we found that the 3 in terms of a family size was the highest number of children, and we found that people who were tech engaged tended to purchase more salads than onwards. Next, I'll pass it over to Patrick to discuss our insights.
Thanks, Rushi. So when we were analyzing the data for Eat More Salads and Try Our Salads, we ran several different regressions, logistic regressions, and other predictive models to see which one maximized the total revenue from each of the programs. And ultimately, we settled on classification tree as the model to go with for predictive capabilities. Here you can see the breakdown of the tree, and we'll discuss that further on the next slide. So based on the classification tree, for Try More Salads, they need to be targeting customers who are non-engineers and older than 23. And for Eat More Salads, they need to be targeting engineers and any engineer, and then non-engineers who are younger than 23. You can see the results of the true positives and false positives in the appendix. Next, I'll hand it over to Evan.
Thank you, Patrick. For predicting consumer spend, we ran a linear regression, which resulted in engineers being the only statistically significant coefficient. As you can see, the engineers purchase more salads across professions and age groups. The average consumer spend is the intercept plus the coefficient of the engineer, and you can see the appendix for that analysis as well. However, the quality of the prediction for the consumer spend is poor. Next, Lauren will discuss our data supporting growth initiatives for McBurger. Once she takes herself off mute.
Thanks, Evan.
You're welcome.
So we mapped out the consumer demographic segments that we think McBurger should target when considering their future growth initiatives. And first, we did a k-means cluster analysis using these 5 indicator variables below. And from this data, we found that McBurger should first target cluster 1, which are middle-aged, high-earning consumers that are spending the most on salads. Secondly, they should target cluster 5, which are the youngest demographic, as young people are keen on healthy eating. So we think they would be a good market for McBurger growth efforts moving forward. And now I'll pass it off to Charles.
Thanks, Lauren. So after running a linear regression on the data set, we found that only a portion of the seasonal indicators were significant. First, we conducted a stepwise regression using the p-value threshold for understanding the data set. We added indicator variables for months, days of the week, and a time trend variable, which begins with the first date being assigned a value of 1, the second date being assigned a value of 2, and continues on from there. After finding out which variables were statistically significant, we ran the regression again using the max validation R-square stopping rule for forecasting purposes. We ultimately found that none of the months were statistically significant, but as you can see in the far right output, YouTube impressions, Facebook impressions, store traffic, web visitors, time trend, and 2 days of the week, Sunday and Monday, showed to be statistically significant. We see that sales decrease as time progresses, which is indicated by the negative parameter estimate for the time trend variable. We also see that sales increase on Sundays and Mondays. Now I'll pass it over to John to speak on our methodologies.
So to summarize, or to look at what we want to do in the future, we wanted to estimate what the sales would be 30 days out from the current location. We attempted this through 2 different models, which did effectively the same thing. The first was with Excel, and the second was with Jump. They both had effectively the same process where we identified relevant variables and then predicted the future values of those variables by building different regression models using date as a comparison. We then utilized the formula that generated from our previous sales model to predict our future values. And luckily for us, the Excel and the Jump values both turned out quite similar, where we predict that in 30 days, between 1,885 and 1,145 salad bowls will be sold. That's our presentation. Thank you very much.